Hey guys, today I'm going to do an experiment. It's going to feature me reading part of the first chapter of my book. I just found out that I will not be able to read the whole thing because the first chapter of my book is too long for Google Translate. And instead of spoiling the entire first chapter of the book in a very weird way, I'll just try to adhere to the 5,000 character limit that they're imposing. I believe it's 5,000 characters, which is fine. I mean, you guys don't want to hear a bastardized version of the entire first chapter of my book, do you? That feels like it would still take me a while. So we are going to paste the entire first chapter of the book in here, and then cut it down so that it fits. We're going to translate it to Spanish first, and then we're going to grab the Spanish translation. I'm sorry you can't see this exciting computer footage. And then we're going to paste it back in. And that, oddly enough, the translation is too long. It's longer than the English version. And I hadn't decided what the second language I was going to translate to would be. But let's go for Russian. Oh, that's funky. Oh, that is so funky. Tell you what, I could not read that if I tried right now. Now we're going to put it back. Paste it back in here. And then we're going to do one more foreign language. And that foreign language will be French. There we go. French. I can pronounce French words for the most part, I think. But I do not speak it in any capacity. That is too difficult. Let's cut out some more of the dialogue because it will not translate back because it's already cut off. So, like, instead of having a fragmented sentence, we are going to just cut off that whole last sentence. It did not fit. And then we're going to translate back into English. And I'm going to take a look at it and see how different it is. And without further ado, here is the first chapter of my book Time Toss, translated from English to Spanish to Russian to French and then back to English. The first chapter of the book is titled The Abandoned House, and here it is. The date was 19 December 2006, and the time was around 1500. There was our city called Dawnsville. One of our young heroes is the young Tom Rancher, 15 years old. He was a gangly child who from the beginning experienced a great impetus for growth. He never had a muscular face, and he claimed he was more supple than strong. His hair was light brown and smooth. He kept it relatively short, but did not have a hairstyle about a month later. His complexion was pale because he remained inside. Yesterday was his birthday, but today he just went to bed. He was tired and thought that his life was too boring for his own good. He remembered seeing adventure movies, TV shows, and even reading adventure literature, wondering why these fantastic stories would never happen to him. His head was still in the clouds, fanatic of some ridiculous idea that could appear in his head. Although he studies well at school, his fantasies prevent him from thinking realistically about his future. In fact, I have often thought of the past. He knew that many great things had happened before he was born. Nothing seemed particularly interesting in the life he knew today. His parents told him as a boy how his loved ones had lived exciting lives in the late 19th century. In fact, the brilliant memory of one of these stories was always in his mind. His parents once told him about the storm and how lightning hit the old ranch house. The house was saved by an old lightning rod, which they kept in the ceiling. Today, he was bored more and more with his own stories, deciding the best way to visit a friend's house. This particular friend was what he had supported since childhood. Her name was Jenna Storms. She was always ready for adventure and had an insatiable curiosity. She also had many unique behaviors, one of which made her hair pink. It's interesting. Tom has often thought of his unique appearance. She was a little smaller than him, and her hair fell well below her shoulders. She always stayed upright, as she loved the length. She had a frame smaller than Tom, but she was more used to physical exercises. She was particularly good at running. She never used a lot of makeup, but her complexion was clear. His eyes were blue, like Tom's. Plus, she was Tom's best friend. Tom ran through the streets of the block to Jenna's house, seeing several advertisements of an old, moldy house on sale. Tom had seen these ads before, though he never thought twice. Today he wondered why someone would leave the house in such a terrible state. In the photo, he saw broken windows and paint. Considering the announcement, he laughed, reading aloud, "You need a little repair." Tom pulled him out of his position as he approached Jenna's house, thinking that maybe he would be interested in exploring only two of them. What? He hissed, waiting for an answer. Soon, a few steps were interrupted by Tom's whistle. Jenna opened the door and asked, "What happened?" "Oh, have not you? Have you seen those ads? Maybe it's time to check the place," Tom offered, raising the ad. "It sounds great. These ads were around as much as I can remember, but I never paid attention to them before," said Jenna, accepting the offer enthusiastically. None of them knew exactly which scale would be an adventure, although the answer is not far. When they started, they crossed the old city, looking at the places they had seen for years. It seemed that there was nothing of interest for Tom and Jenna, although many of the destroyed buildings were being rebuilt. These houses were relics of distressed small business owners and those who wanted to transfer their wealth to their descendants. Seeing this for so long, many people have been surprised to see that the larger and more popular business chains are in several department stores. Tom remembered some of his childhood shops, but his attention was not there. I was determined to find an adventure. When they reached the farthest corner of the city, they found a path that would take them to their destination. As the houses stretched across the street seemed empty. In fact, there are not many people there, and most of the houses seemed to be affected for several years. Even the patio was neglected and brown. So there you have it. My book, translated 4 times, and when it goes back to English, it's surprisingly well connected still. All of the thoughts are basically in place, but you can tell where the broken English kicks back in. There were some incorrect pronouns, and the speech, the dialogue is suffering a bit. Yeah, a couple of things got lost in translation, but it's surprisingly held up okay. So, there you go. Thank you for joining me on this adventure.